Hello my friends, in today's video we will take a look at Viltrox AF50mm F1.8 FE. Viltrox has already released a couple of lenses for the E-mount and they have proved to be very valid options. Another release is the 50mm F1.8 which promises a good price to performance ratio. In this video we will take a look at the optical qualities, at the performance of this lens in combination with Sony A7R IV and A7IV, and I will try to help you decide whether you should consider getting one. 50mm is a classic versatile focal length which puts a lot of emphasis on the subject. It is suitable for certain types of landscapes or cityscape photography, for portraits, and also for street photography and reportage. F1.8 makes it suitable for low-light shooting, and you can definitely get a lot of subject separation as well. It is 88mm long and it weighs 350 grams. There are some smaller 50mm f1.8s out there, but it definitely isn't a big or heavy lens by any means. The build quality is very good. It feels very solid and I would even say premium, especially at this price point. The mount is metal as well, of course. As you can see here, there is also a USB-C port for firmware updates, which is very convenient. It has some degree of weather sealing, which is very nice at this price point. Unfortunately, there is no gasket around the mount. It has a 55mm filter thread, which is not the most common size, but still easy to get. The lens comes with a basic plastic lens hood, which will do the job, so no complaints here either. Much like other Viltrox AF lenses, it also comes with a protective pouch, which is useful for storage and transportation. Regarding the control elements, there is the focusing ring and aperture ring. The focusing ring is sufficiently large. It is a focus-by-wire system, so it is completely smooth, but it has a reasonable amount of resistance. Manual focusing with this lens is pretty good for a focus-by-wire system. I was able to do some focus pulling with no issues. The aperture ring is smooth, so it has no clicks. I would prefer operation with clicks, but it has a sufficient resistance and it is kind of hidden, so I haven't experienced any accidental aperture changes yet. If you don't want to use it, you can set it to A position and change the aperture in camera. So how about the optical qualities? I have tested this lens with a 61 megapixel sensor in Sony A7R IV-A. This sensor is very demanding when it comes to the optical qualities of the lenses. The central sharpness is actually very good right from f1.8, but the contrast is a little bit weak and there is moderate amount of chromatic aberration. At f2 the contrast is already very good. At f2.8 the image quality is basically perfect. The image quality is basically the same at f4, f5.6 and f8. The sharpness at f11 is still great, but there is some decrease of contrast due to the diffraction. The corner sharpness at f1.8 is pretty solid as well, but not great. It slightly improves at f2 and f2.8, but the big improvement comes at f4 where it is very good. It further improves at f5.6 and f8 where it is basically perfect. f11 looks the same as f8, so there are no signs of diffraction in the corners. There is some vignetting, but the amount is not terrible. There is a Lightroom profile for this lens, which is great, and it will get rid of the vignetting, but it slightly decreases image quality in the corners. The amount of distortion is negligible. Overall, I can definitely say that I am happy with the image quality. f1.8 is more than good enough for low light and blurring the background, f4 offers very good sharpness across the frame, and at f8 you will get perfect image quality even in the corners. The real-world images basically reflect the testing scene. The overall rendition is very nice with accurate colors, so I don't have any complaints. The minimum focus distance is 55 cm, which translates to 0.1 times magnification. These lenses aren't usually great for semi-macro works, and that applies in this case as well. The image quality at the minimum focus distance is pretty solid though, but you will have to stop it down for maximal sharpness. At 50mm you can get a lot of subject separation at f1.8. This lens has 9 aperture blades, which is fine, and the bokeh is quite pleasant. The transitions between areas in focus and out of focus are pretty smooth as well. The bokeh isn't particularly special on this lens, but there is nothing wrong with it either, so I can say that I am happy with that. The autofocus is basically as good as with the latest Sony lenses. In stills it is very fast, 100% accurate, and there is absolutely no hunting. In video it is the same thing, it is also very smooth or very fast depending on your in-camera settings. Sony A7IV has great autofocus, which largely contributes to this result, but overall huge thumbs up for the autofocus. The autofocus motor is not completely silent. It definitely isn't distractingly loud, but it may be captured by an in-camera microphone. Shotgun microphone should be fine depending on the sensitivity. There is some amount of focus breathing, but it isn't too bad. I think that the focus pulls in video look good even when you are focusing at a close distance. If you are wondering about A7IV's focus breathing compensation function, that is not available with this lens. AF 50mm is not stabilized, which is to be expected with this type of lens. The in-body image stabilization in A7IV or A7R4 is sufficient at this focal length. 50mm lens will probably mostly be used for static shots in video, and that looks fine. Normal camera pointing is also fine. To sum up, Viltrox AF 50mm F1.8 FE is a very solid prime lens with great price to performance ratio. 50mm F1.8 is a fairly versatile type of lens and a worthy addition to the lens kit of most users. Optically it is very good. I wouldn't hesitate at all to use it even on a 61MP A7R4. F1.8 is more than sufficient for blurring the background, and you will get excellent image quality across the frame from F4. The build quality is actually quite premium. The autofocus works just as well as with the latest first-party Sony lenses. I also appreciate the aperture ring despite that it has no clicks. The only disadvantages that I have found are the lack of weather sealing gasket around the mount and not completely silent autofocus. Other than that, I can't really complain about anything, especially not at this price point. It is a great choice for those who want a budget-friendly 50mm f1.8. I do use this lens as a part of my personal lens kit, so I can highly recommend it. So that's it for this video, thank you for watching, I hope that you liked this video and that you have found it to be useful. Stay tuned for more videos and maybe consider subscribing if you don't want to miss my future content. I appreciate your feedback in form of thumbs up or thumbs down. If you would like to ask anything or share your opinion, please do so in the comment section, and see you next time.